morning, everyone, and welcome to the PivotBoss pre-market video for Monday, December 23rd, 2024. I am Frank Ochoa, aka PivotBoss. Happy Monday, everyone. Before we get to the charts here, I do want to say this will be the last pre-market video of the week here, as I will be out observing the holidays until next Monday. So everyone have a fantastic Christmas, have a happy holidays to you and yours, and wishing you the very best as we head into 2025. Here's a look at the ES in the daily time frame here. A bit off the highs of the session, seeing some weakness here in overnight and pre-market trading. But the important thing here is how price bounced back on Friday to get the midpoint of the impulse move. We talked Friday that if price can recover the previous session's low and close, we could have a decent recovery day, and it turned into something much more than just decent. This was a massive bounce back day, a huge high range day for the ES. Here you can see nearly 200 points of range, 184.75 points of range. That is significant. That range day right there did give up by the end of the day some of those gains. It was outside days, but that range day was bigger than even the range day we saw after election day. A huge day, but more importantly than even all of that is that this bounce back day got us back to the midpoint of the impulse sell-off. So if you take last week's Monday high to that Friday low, price bounced right back and hit the midpoint for the month, which is around 60.15, 60.1488, and in doing so we now have ourselves a new key range. That key range will be very, very important moving forward. It either helps us with further upside price targets or could even give us some downside targets as well. And if we look out to the forecasted pivot range for next month in January, you can see that the 100% target here will take us up to the 64.61.5 level as a 100% target. That is your 100% target here of this key range from last week. That means that even if we drop down, there could be a trap in the 5,800 level, and 5,800 could eventually get us to 64.61.5 as a 100% target of that key range. So that's going to be something to really work toward here if we are going to see a bullish continuation of the overall trend. Any failure, though, of that key range, for example, if we were to break down, could open up some downside price action, and that could get us even lower here, where we're looking at a move that could take us down toward 55.70 as a 100% bearish target. So there could be a move on either side of that key range, but the fact that we have a key range now set in is very, very important. Now, last week's range, especially that Friday range, was super wide. Last week's range was super wide. Here on a holiday shortened week, we could see mostly inside range bound price action. So again, staying within the Friday range is very, very likely here today and tomorrow on a half day. Wednesday is an off day, and then Thursday, Friday rounds out the week. So we could be looking at mostly range bound price action, and at the moment a bit of a bearish bias. Are we going to see a bit of a Santa Claus rally here into the end of the year, or do we continue to kind of work our way downward? We'll see how that plays out. Now, taking a look here at the NQ. NQ right now flat on the day. You can see Friday's range right there. This one also snapped back to the midpoint of the impulse move. So that high right there, down to the Friday low, and then snapping back to that midpoint right there. That gave us a new key range. The midpoint is 21,695, 21,695, that midpoint, and we have ourselves a new key range. And again, if we were to look at the upside target of that key range down the road, it puts us to 23,960 right here, 23,960. Call it 24,000 would be the upside target of that key range. And again, anytime you have a key range of this magnitude here and you have a bullish trend, oftentimes the best spot to trap is right here below the key range low and into the 25% extension which would be 20,562s. If price were to come into that zone, that could offer the best trap and reversal for a target into 24,000 down the road. So that could be in play, but the key range is locked and loaded heading into the new year. Again, Friday's range very high. We could see an inside day develop here today and throughout the week, where price mostly trades within that Friday range as it again builds toward the end of the year. Taking a look here at crude oil, this one's down about 0.5% right now. Crude oil down at the moment, still stuck at the center of the range, building some energy here. One thing we continue to note is this big compression right here, big time compression, big buildup of energy. It's starting to look like a well-developed rounded bottom now, and you can see with Friday's low here, it was a bit of a higher low. That was a higher low to this low, and then you can see how it's been rounding off from there. Eventually, perhaps at the beginning of the year, but eventually here we're going to see ourselves a big move out of this range, and likely to the upside given seasonal patterns here. The seasonal trend will tend to take this thing higher. Again, we tend to see a little bit of strength here late in the year. Right now it's just kind of sitting there, but building energy for the forthcoming move. And as of right now, again, this market wants nothing to do with prices below 67, so even if we were to drop into that zone, it could be a great spot to pick it back up for a continuation to the upside. 78.50 could ultimately be a target in Q1. Looking at gold futures, this one's down 0.5% right now. Inside day at the moment, big time high range price action, especially over the course of the last week and a half. Big time rally to the upside. Fell just shy of the 72s here, which is the previous month high, dropped back to 2600 and is now holding. Currently inside day at the moment, building a little bit of a range within Friday's range, but continuing to hold the 2632 level, which is the midpoint of this larger key range right here. Initially, the idea was if we can continue to hold below 2632, there's a shot to go reach the 2540s, but here we are sitting right on top of that level at the moment. Inside day again, and bouncing off the lows, pushing through the midpoint of that tail event day. That would tend to be short-term bullish right now, but stuck at the center of the range for gold at the moment. The YM here, the YM already with 400 points of range here. Today, inside day, mostly to the downside, heavy selling pressure and overnight and pre-market trading. This one did get the midpoint of the key range as well. This has been a very bearish December for the YM. You can see how much selling pressure we've seen since the first week of trading. This was a rollover gap up last week, and then right there, that's the Monday high. That right here is the Friday low, and price bounced right back to the middle of that range, which is 43,491. That's your midpoint of this impulse move right there, and that gives us a new key range as well. So the ES, the NQ, and the YM have all given us new key ranges to work with as we head into the new year, and that's going to set us up very, very nicely for price action to come. And again, with these types of key ranges, we have targets on the upside and we have targets on the downside. So if this weakness continues to play out, we could be looking at the downside targets being reached. If ultimately we're going to go get the upside targets, then any push to the downside could provide a bear trap opportunity for a rotation back up. So continuing to watch these key ranges as they develop. All right, looking at Bitcoin right now, Bitcoin down 1.68%. Bitcoin and Ethereum both getting big time impulse sell-offs last week. That's your high, 108,960. Price sells off to the low right there, last week's low right around the 92 level. The 92,355s is the low. Now the midpoint needs to be hit in order for a key range to develop. That midpoint is 100,658. 100,658 needs to be hit in order to lock in a new key range there. And as of right now, This market kind of took a little gap down and is sitting below the midpoint of last Friday's tail event. So not the best right now in terms of working its way toward that midpoint retest here, because if it gets that midpoint, it locks in a key range. If it doesn't and it starts to eat through this midpoint and close lower, that means another continuation, another impulse move could be seen ahead. That impulse move could be of the same or similar magnitude that we've already seen. So you got to hold that low right here, and you want to see that midpoint tested relatively quickly. If not, another wave of weakness could be seen to the downside in Bitcoin. Looking at Ethereum, very similar. Ethereum down 3.25% right now, and you'll notice here last week big time selling pressure in Ethereum. It reached a high right here at 41.30s. That was last week. The high of the month so far, 41.42.50. Impulse sell-off, and right there, that was a bounce off year-to-date VWAP and the 200-day moving average. Big time recovery. Hopeful that we could close above 34 on Friday, and it did. Big time tail event, and that right there bodes very, very well for a snapback to the 3,600 and change level right there, which gives us a new key range. That level's 36.2480, and based off of the rejection we saw Friday, it looked like there was a really good shot to go get that level. And then of course you come in here Sunday night, gapping down through the midpoint here of Friday's range, right now trying to work its way back up. So can it maintain the tail event low? Can it work its way back above 3,400 and get the midpoint relatively soon? If so, we have ourselves a great key range, and that key range, if we can lock it in, would point us to 5,200 down the road. 5,200 would be that target level. It's going to be really 51.90, but then we also have a previous key range from earlier in the year that points to 5,200. So that would be huge. Whereas the Bitcoin key range target would point us to the 125 level, 125K. So can these two markets get those midpoints and lock in key ranges? Because if so, major upside could be seen ahead. If not, another impulse sell-off of a similar magnitude could be ahead. All right, that is it for now. We'll see how this plays out heading into the rest of the week. Remember, this will be the last pre-market video of the week. Also, please be sure to visit pivotboss.com/flash sale to be a part of our flash deal before it is gone. Great deals being had at pivotboss.com/flash sale. Be sure to take advantage. Everyone have a fantastic holidays. Merry Christmas, and we'll see you on the other side. Take care.